Okay, Tales from the Bright Side. 1. Chapter 1. Waiting on God. Oh! Quote, I wish to, again, formally register my objections to this line of experimentation, I said, addressing my comment to the turned back of one Dr. Samen. It's, I guess, pronounced Cement, but with an S. I don't know. An up-and-coming new researcher here at the Foundation. He seemed to think that the appropriate methods for advancements within our ranks was to insinuate himself with the overseers. No one likes an ass-kisser. Then why do all my teachers like me? Okay, back to the story. And again, your objections are noted, 963. However, wait, are they calling Dr. Bright 963 now? Whatever. However, I have the full support of 05-1 on this matter. 682 is simply too dangerous. We must try all possible outcomes. I bristled when he called me by a number. Why do they always make the same mistake? Yeah, why don't they call him 963-1? Mr. Cement. You know what, I'm just going to call him Salament. My name is Dr. Bright. This, and I held out the amulet currently glued to my palm, is 963. Please refrain from mixing the two up, or I will have Grangan there shoot you in the foot. Whoever Grangan is. No hard feelings, but I'm sure you understand. A small smile crept across my feature as I spoke, gesturing to one of the small crew, to one of my small crew of assistants. Ugh. Unlike certain other members of the senior staff, I had never actually named the junior staff who had fallen under my wing. But the other staff had taken to calling them the Lucky Bunch. Why? If you've read the reason things Dr. Bright isn't allowed to do at the Foundation, you'd say they are the most unlucky entities in the multiverse. But back to this. And it seems to have stuck. The name seems to reference the fact that the researchers under my care tend to live longer. How? My own obsession with games of chance and quite possibly a dig at my sometimes simian nature. Amusing, I'm sure. I think something I've gone wrong. Whatever. Salament glanced uncomfortably at my underling before turning his attention back to me. Nevertheless, I cleared my throat, noting from the corner of my eye as Grangan slipped his hand into his inside coat pocket. Bright, we must. Again, I interrupt his speech in an effort to correct the fellow. Dr. Bright. Dr. Bright. Forgotten italics. Whatever. Only those who work with me on a regular basis are allowed to drop the title. And you will not be here long enough to work with me on a regular basis. Salament paled visibly at my words. Is that a threat? He questioned, anger in his voice. Because I like Dr. Bright, and because this guy seems annoying as hell, I'm now going to be in a very condescending tone. No, merely good odds. You see, this ridiculous undertaking of yours has little to no chance of succeeding. The odds are... I glanced sideways at where my primary assistant already had the book out and waiting. English had been working for me long enough to anticipate my needs. What? English? If someone can tell me what the fuck. Yeah. A quick glance at the numbers was all I needed to refresh my memory. 512 to 1 against. This first plan of yours working. In fact, the only one who seems to have put any money on it working is I paused to recheck the numbers. A dead man. Ha ha, very funny. It doesn't matter. 343 will not. Dr. Bright! Hang on. I don't know who's saying this, so if I don't do the condescending tone, if it's Salament, yeah. Dr. Bright, I do not need your negative attitude or your predictions of doom. What I need you to do is go in there and ask your fellow SCP to assist us in this manner. Dr. Bright is not an SCP. He's a human affected by one. Whatever. Will you or won't you do your assigned job? Sorry, phone rang and, I went and grabbed a drink. Let me just... Okay, I'll try this again, in the condescending tone. Dr. Bright, I do not need your negative attitude, or your predictions of doom. Oh, I sound like, Chester A. Bum from Nostalgia Critic. What I need you to do is go in there and ask your fellow SCP to assist us in this manner. Will you or won't you do your assigned job? I don't think 343 would be too happy to see Dr. Bright. After all, he did try to undo creation by trying to disprove 343 to 343. I'm the second person who would try to do that. Like if you tried too. Okay, I'll shut up now. The cracks had begun to show in Salament's armor. What? Not someone who would last long. Is that a term or what? Someone's armor? What? Never mind. I had money on him leaving within the week, but for this situation, he technically barely outranked me, so I would do it. Of course, I nodded my head, steeled myself, and walked through the door into 343's domicile. Just being in his presence set my teeth on edge. The feelings of calm and content attempted to flow into me, but I resisted. It's hard to be gloomy when the world is trying to make you happy. Au contraire. But I've had years of practice. Longs? I think the SAP wiki needs a spell checker. Whatever. Especially with him. Now I can see why I tried to disprove 343 to him. So, I think that most disturbs me about 343 is how, no matter what I try, no matter how much I tell myself it's a trick, he always looks like George Burns to me. But, whatever. Cigar in one hand, martini in another. He says it's to put me at ease, but nothing about this creature puts me at ease. He's too much. He tries too hard. I've read 343's profile. I don't think he can... well, who cares? Jack, he said to me, sad eyes watching as I entered the room. I'm glad to see you back. Are you ready to talk some more? 343. Okay, now I'm Dr. I don't know. I'll try a better 343 voice later. You have been held by the Foundation for several years now, and have yet to prove yourself worth the effort. I ignored his question. Therefore, it has been determined that you will be used to attempt the decommissioning of a more dangerous SCP. Do you understand? You know, Jack, I had such high hopes for you. You were created so bright, so gifted. There were still are plans for you to do great things, like destroy the universe. But you need to get out of here. They're destroying you, Jack. You used to be such a good boy. Immortality will do that to a man. He had his mannerisms Down perfect. I'm not a thesaurus, but I don't know if that's a word. Even the gruff George Burns voice. I don't know who George Burns is, so yeah. The voice, the smoke, even the current look of his room. All designed to make me receptive to him. But I wouldn't have any of it. He was an SCP, a creature, a monster, and by God, and by 343, he would not take me so easily. Can't believe they didn't say that. You may refer to me as Dr. Bright. No one calls me that anymore. Not for decades. Will you whatever. Will you assist in this endeavor, or will I have to impose sanctions upon you? How are you gonna do that? You already tried, I think. I stared into his eyes, refusing to look away. The longer I held eye contact, the smaller his smile became, until there was no trace of it left. He took a deep drag on his cigar, almost but not quite frowning. You have become an abomination, Jack. More monster than human. Bound to that thing. He gestured at 963. And I could have sworn I felt a tingle. Or I should remove it, return you to your proper thread, make you human again. For a moment, my thoughts lifted. The thought that I might be able to be rid of this curse. That I might finally die. Wait, couldn't you just destroy all of his vessels? But no, I clamped down on my emotions, refusing to break eye contact. He would or he wouldn't. He would or he wouldn't, but I doubted he could. No, you'll do so much more with it. No, you'll do so much more with it. Very well, Jack. I will help you with whatever this is. If you say please. I could tell he thought I wouldn't, but it was beneath me. I wouldn't have Salomon claiming I undermined his effort. 343, please assist us. His eyebrows raised. A fraction of an inch. Why are these comments here? But I saw it. I had surprised him. Good. He needed it. Needed to be shooken up a bit. Very well. Transition. Later, I stood in the observation booth, watching 343 in the containment room below. He had not asked what he was to do, and gave every indication that whatever it was, he could deal with it. So I had chosen not to tell him what he was dealing with. Let God do what he will. Oh. How will 682 get out of this one? Did I forget to mention that this was another termination attempt that I should have done in the previous video? But this was a different page. So that's why I didn't do it. And I don't know why I'm dragging this guy on so long. Well, whatever. Dr. Salomon stood smugly at my side, gloating without saying a word. He believed he had won the argument, and I felt no need to disabuse him of that notion. This would still be a failure. Yeah, plot. Yeah. If you've seen my previous video, you already know it is. 343 did not have what it took to take care of 682. Are you prepared? Are you prepared, 343? Yeah, I'll do different voices for him. Salomon spoke into the microphone. Below us, 343 gave a thumbs up. Without any further to do, I think you mean adieu. Whatever. Dr. Salomon pressed the button on the console, and the airlock cycled open, releasing 682. The reptile roared into the room, charged straight through the center to throw itself against the doors opposite. It had escaped often enough to know the drill and the most likely chance of escape. The only surprising event would be the fact that in so doing, it charged straight into 343, without seeming to touch him at all. 343, for his part, continued to stare at the open airlock door. Expectantly, he glanced from the door up to us, then back at the door, before speaking out. Well, are you going to send this thing out, or should I head in? I smiled to myself, watching as 682 continued to assault upon the second airlock. With a smirk of my own, I took the microphone for the slack hands of Dr. Solomon. Close your mouth, you'll get flies. I advised my own research before addressing 343. Okay. 343, am I correct to understand that you've seen nothing in the room with you? 343 turned in a circle, eyeing the room before looking towards me once more. There is nothing in the room with me, Jack. Are you feeling all right? With a grin firmly planted on my face, I turned to Solomon. 682 not neutralized, as I predicted. "682?" 343 called out. Or there should be an exclamation mark. Whatever. 682! 343 called out, a brief flash of anger in his eyes. Between one moment and the next, he is standing in front of me, somehow taller than me without changing his size. Paradoxical, whatever. Glaring down at me. You brought me to 682? I motioned behind his back at English. Oh, that's a guy's name. Whatever. Who quickly began the 682 containment procedures, flooding the room with acid. I don't know who's speaking. Sure did, 343. Got a problem with that? Probably not, right? Anger from God. With luck, he'd off me, and I wouldn't have to go through the second part of this test. Instead, 343 simply turned his back on me. He's not one of mine. Deal with him yourself. And stalked off through the wall. Oh! Dr. Solomon, having regained his composure, turned to me with a snarl. Fine, it didn't work. Doesn't matter. Go get yourself ready. 963, you're going in. I nodded to Grangan as I turned away to change bodies. Okay. The last thing I heard as the door slid shut behind me was the pleasant sound of a handgun going off in close quarters. Next time on Tales from the Bright Side, we're off to be the lizard! Huh. We're only like 18 minutes in. Huh. Okay. Then I guess sure. I'll do the next part. Just okay. We're off to be the lizard. And show. Dr. Cement continued from his wheelchair. His right foot still in a cast after that terrible accidental heart discharge. We must now proceed with the application of... He stopped, staring at Dr. Bright in some kind of horror. What is that? Bright smiled calmly, as his assistants continued to aid him in the final calibrations. Lying on the table before him in pieces at the moment were the 3 pieces of the rather ugly-looking metal staff. Wires and cables trailed off at odd angles and continued to look more bizarre the more the lucky branch fiddled with it. It's a staff, Cement. Why would you want Dr. Bright to be 682? anyone who's read The Things Dr. Bright Shouldn't Do would know that that is probably the third worst, or well, I guess, fourth worst thing that could possibly happen. Number 3 being if I became 682. Number 2 being if Dr. Wright became 343. Number 1, if I became 343. But yes. I can see that much. 963. The doctor, without a clue, snarled. But why do you have it here? Firmly grasping the now assembled staff, Dr. Bright turned on Cement with a scowl. My name is Dr. Bright, and this is going to attract 682's attention. How are you planning on getting 963 into 682? Well, with a rocket launcher and, exactly. With this prototype, I shall endeavor to anger it to the point where it comes for me. From there, it will be child's play getting 963 inside it. Cement nodded. Of course, 963. But what does it do? Some people never learn. And other people continually insult a vengeful immortal who holds no regard for human life. The really stupid people feed Bright straight lines. This, he raised the cane to point in a vaguely salament direction and pressed the button. Immediately, a purplish arc of electricity arced through the air, grounding itself in Cement's injured foot. The doctor screamed, apparently rolling his wheelchair backwards, even as the bandages caught fire. Holy... Dr. Salament, it appears as if you have some sort of metal in your cast. Wonder how that happened. Wait, what? Okay. As Salament's lackeys hurried to put their boss out, Bright turned to Dr. Light and nodded. All right, Sophia, we know what we're doing. What are the current odds? Wait, if the staff shoots lightning into metal, what do they plan to do with 682? Make it need to be metal then? Whatever. Dr. Light checked her clipboards, frowning. 2-to-1 doesn't work. 5-to-1, you get in it and rampage across the site. Side bet on that one. Even odds are that you said rampage to kill Cement over there. Even odds are that you said rampage to kill Salament over there. 10-to-1 says something goes wrong and you get stuck inside 682. 21 odds say that this goes bottoms up and we all end up as you somehow. I like those odds. You know, I wouldn't mind all of them becoming Dr. Bright. I mean, come on. Humanity had a good run. 963, Cement yelled as his foot smoldered. You! Dr. Salament, understand this. Bright stalked over to tower over the researcher. I am about to be put in the most dangerous SCP we've ever discovered. I will offer you this deal then. If you cover your feet in barbecue sauce, I will stop them. And with that, Bright turned and stalked down the staging floor. Oh god. Please tell me he rampages and kills Salament. Dr. Bright awoke with a headache. His memory's fuzzy. There had been something. Barbecue sauce, maybe? No, something else. Oh yes, the memory came flooding back to him. And standing there with his staff, the beast charging, lightning and teeth, blood and pain, and that horrible, indescribable feeling as he jumped host. But now things weren't right. He could feel cold stone. Shouldn't be stone cold, whatever, beneath his back, which implied that he was lying down. And he could hear other people moving around him. So there was a good chance he was still in the foundation. There was always barbecue sauce. Wait, what? Jack? We really need you right now, sir. A familiar voice called from above. Slowly, Jack opened his eyes, his face fixed in a preemptive frown. Standing over him, in a rather strange-looking chainmail Holbrook, was a familiar-looking Mexican man, standing something about him. I know you, don't I? The other man leaned down, helping Jack to his feet. Not really, sir. Please, you have to come with me. His grip on Jack's arm was firm, his other hand holding firmly to a long staff. Jack stopped, suddenly watching the other people moving past. All of them dressed the same. A chainmail hauberk with gold rings and a circle over the heart, surrounding the ring, a ring of red rings. All of them held the same staff. You're D-113. You're the first, aren't you? Jack couldn't help but stare. It had been a long time since that first one. Well, the answer to that is yes and no. And yes. But not really. Right. We do it your way. Stupidly and blunt. You see, sir, none of this is real. As he gestured at the castle walls and the people around him. Well, duh. Credit me with a little sense. Oh, okay, right, that makes things, easier. See, your mind isn't ready for this. It can't, really deal with how 682 sees things. So we did become 682, huh? So it came up with this as a defense. Only it's not just your mind. 963 is involved. Oh. And somehow bits and pieces of the leftovers of those you've taken over are being animated to help. Only it's part of you. Does that make any sense? Not even a little bit. As they pushed through a great wooden door. But I do understand where you're coming from. Jack stared towards the sky, for once without a voice. Above him was the thing, the creature, what we were in our limited scope called 682. And it was glorious, a beautiful, nightmarish, disturbing yet intriguing creature, spread across the sky, ground, the horizon, hell. Everything that wasn't Jack and his castle. Barbecue sauce. Well, then, whew. Jack frowned more deeply, as several armored people suddenly ran up beside him. Even the old man was there. Who? Although he shouldn't have been. He couldn't feel the impact lessen even as they stood there. Right, sharing the load. Got it. He wrenched his eyes away from the thing, turning to his own ramparts. Ramparts? Is that a word? A twisted, mangled castle that Escher would be proud of loomed above and below him. And from every corner, pieces of him stood, stabs in hand, striking out against the barbecue sauce creature. What? Purple lightning arced here and there, playing across the surface of the beast, carving inroads, yoking into its command. What? Are some bits missing, or are there just a shitload of plot holes? We're stuck, aren't we? Encaged, sir. Have to figure out a way to get out. We have some barbecue sauce to serve up. Pardon, figure of speech. Is that a figure of speech? What? Look, I need Bright racked his memories. Oh, so many of them. The answer would be there, somewhere. And then it was there, standing in front of him, researcher Class 2 Damon Smith, promoted to Dr. Bright. What? Promoted to Dr. Bright in the line of duty. Damon had always had a fear of being enclosed, and that would get them out of here. Come on, Damon, take that staff, and link up. Remember how it feels to be in small places, locked in. No one can hear you. Have to get out. The apparition before Jack raised its staff as his limbs trembled in fear. A line of energy lashed out from the staff, scorching a long line in the creature above them, and it began to change from the inside. The effects were hard to tell, but everyone there could feel it. Something different was happening. The dragon was moving. Jack couldn't help but laugh. Barbecue sauce, he called out. One of the absolute worst battle cries he ever spoken. He wrenched the staff away from Damon's hands, not even noticing as he pushed the poor researcher over the edge. Not caring as a mouth of the beast snapped up the helpless researcher. Lines of energy, a mental projection of Jack's control of a 6A2, lashed out in force from the castle construct. He could feel that it was doing his will. Whatever he told it to do, he knew some part of his brain was actually inside the creature, controlling it, seeing through its eyes, but he also knew he could never hope to understand how it saw the world. So, down here, he fought a pitched battle, using metaphor and simile to act as his steed. Sorry if I seem like an idiot because I keep getting confused. But it wasn't to last. Even as he found himself filled with the knowledge that he had done what he wanted to, the dragon fought back. Its ferocious claws ripped into the castle, shattering walls. Its foul breath played along the walls, sending body forms reeling, tumbling back into the safety of 963. Jack knew he could not last. With the last act of his mental will, he set the creature back, commanded it to return, then he too retreated to the safety of his nightmares. If Dr. Wright's nightmares are a safe haven, I don't want to know what your hell is. Probably Justin Bieber songs. Bright could feel the soft texture of a bed beneath him. Cotton sheets from the feel of it. So not his own bed. Thin mattress, the smell of disinfectant. The leather straps on his wrist, neck, chest, and feet. Yes, he must be in medical. Subject is awakening, overseer. Bright opened his eyes slowly, aware of the feel of cold metal pressed against his temple. His eyes flicked first to the figure holding the gun. One of the overseer's goon squad. None of them actually worth remembering. Then, to the sound of the voice, the lovely Dr. Light doing her medical duties. Finally, to the last remaining space by his bed, filled with a monitor screen, on which a black outline of a person could be seen. A mechanical voice. 079? Carefully filtered to remove any identifying marker, spoke to him. Please identify yourself. With or without identifying marker, Bright still knew who was behind the outline. Dr. Jack Bright, level 5 researcher, personnel director of far too many sites, yada yada yada. Who is your sister? The voice continued. Bright knew it was the question that he needed to be asked to make sure he was himself. Claire Pierce. Oh yeah, because he kept convincing D-Class that they were Dr. Bright. It could happen. And in answer to your next 3 questions, 31, 20, 35, the bowl of iris, and purple monkey dishwasher. I want to know what those questions are. Identity confirmed. Dr. Bright, what is your last memory? Bright thought hard for a long moment. I was, going up against 682, wasn't I? Yeah, I had the staff and everything. Guess he didn't snap up 963, huh? Dr. Bright, 963 was in contact with 682 for the better part of a week. For the first 36 hours, 682 remained in a comatose state. Shortly thereafter, it proceeded to grow large claws and tunnel its way through its containment, causing a massive breach. Incredibly, 682 only injured one researcher, and then allowed itself to be meekly shepherded back to its containment. 682 paced its room for another 24 hours, at which point it again went comatose. 10 hours later, 963 was excreted from 682's brow. The team retrieved it and immediately placed it upon the body you now wear. You have not stirred since. Can you add anything else to this? Sorry, 6, I got nothing. Although, Bright frowned his lips. Why do I taste barbecue sauce? Someplace else entirely, the dragon curled around its newest acquisition. Such a tiny little man-thing. It had never thought that the foul creature could possibly teach it anything, but one of them had. The beast circled around the memories of Damon Smith, absorbed them, made them its own, and in learning how to fear, it added one more tool to its vast arsenal. Wait, it already was afraid of 173 and a ton of others. One more way that it could change itself, and finally eliminate the scourge it called man, and the scourge I, too, call man. Coming relatively soon, Chapter 3, Confessions of a Teenage SCP. Fuck that noise. And because this is extremely short, let's go to their attempt to use 409, because I didn't read this last time. Log of event 682-E18. Well, this is addendum 682-E, whatever. Dr. Blank attempts to use SCP-409 on 682. I do not know anything about 409. General Blank, and Dr. Blank observing. 0400. Exposure. 682 began to tear at the point of contact, causing massive trauma to the area. 682 requests several times to know what it has been exposed to. Like, what the fuck is this? 0800. Quick crystallization begins, spreading much slower than normal. 1200. 682 shows signs of extreme pain and begins having seizures. 1300. Crystallization stops at 62% conversion. Crystallized area explodes, causing massive physical trauma to 682. 1400. 682 recovers from exposure. Despite loss of limbs and organs, 682 begins regeneration, stating that it will attempt to kill and consume all staff involved in event 682-E18. 682 now appears to now be immune to 409. Use of other SCP items to terminate 682 must now be tested on samples of 682 before full-scale testing. In accordance to Dr. Blank's recommendation, see document 27B-6, wherever that is, Dr. Blank and Dr. Blank have requested permission to attempt the termination of 682 using 689. The request is currently pending approval from the Blank. It has also been suggested by Dr. Gears to use 182 in an attempt to communicate with 682. 182 has expressed reluctance and refuses to enter containment center of 682, if at all possible. I don't know what either of these are. Maybe 689 or 89, whatever. No, wait, 689 wasn't used yet. It was like 826 or something like that. So yeah. Maybe I will check Confessions of a Teenage SCP. Nope, doesn't exist. Sorry. Well, This video's only gonna be, well, whatever. Bye!